Hare Krishna devotees. Dandavat pranams to all. We welcome all of you for the today's morning program Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Prasadeshwara Krishna Prabhu, and he will be discoursing on 4th canto, 10th chapter, 21st sloka to 25th sloka. Over to you, Prabhuji. You can start.
Hare
Hare
Krishna.
Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Dandavat pranam to all. So, first of all, thank you for giving me this opportunity to little seva. Thank you for the temple management, His Grace Narayana Chaitanya Prabhu, Sri Gopinath Pran Prabhu, and Sankarshan Priya Prabhu, and all the host here. We'll start with the prayer. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayamudhirayate Nastaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttamasloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtaki Mukam karoti vachalam pangam langayate girim yatkripa tamaham vande Shri Gurum Dinatarinam. Om Ajnanatmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurum Militam Yena Tasme Shri Gurve Namaha. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamiti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharane Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschat Deshatarane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you once again for everybody joining this Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. Prabhu, can you share the sloka? Okay. So today we are reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 10th chapter, and verse 21 to 25. We'll read sloka and translation. In this verses, Srila Prabhupada has not given any purport, so we'll try to discuss few points here. Apasyamanaha sattadhatyanam mahamride kanchana manavottamah purim dirikshanam api navishadvisham namainam veda shikshita janah. Dhruva Maharaj, the best of human beings, observed that the great battlefield, not one of the opposing soldiers were left standing with the proper weapons. He then desired to see the city of Alakapuri, but he thought to himself, no one knows the plans of the mystic yakshas. We'll move on to the next. Iti bruvam chitra rutah swasarathim yata pareshat pratiyoga shaktiha sushruma shabdam jaladher iveretim nabashottam dikshu rajo navadrishyatah. In the meantime, while Dhruva Maharaj, doubtful of his mystic enemies, was talking with his charioteer, they heard a tremendous sound as if the whole ocean were there, and they found that from the sky a great dust storm was coming over them from all the directions. Next one, we'll continue reading. Kshane chidatitam yoyam gananiketna sarvatah vishpruto tadit dikshu trashyat trashyayat stanayina stanayinanum. With the moment, the whole sky was overcast with the dense clouds, and the severe thundering was heard. There was a glittering electric lightning and severe rainfall. Next one. Vavarshar Rudhayunagrashak Puyarvina Mur Mutra Medasah Nip Nipetur Gaganad Asya Kabandhani Agrato Anagha. My dear faultless Vidura, in that rainfall there was blood, mucus, pus, stool, urine, and marrow falling heavily before Dhruva Maharaj. And there were trunks of bodies falling from the sky. Next, last one. Tatha ke adrishya ghirir nipetuhu sarvato disham gada pariganan nishchitramas mas musalam saswam varshinah. Next, the great mountains was visible in the sky. From all directions, hailstones fell along with the lance, clubs, swords, iron bulgons, and the great piece of stone. So we'll discuss few points from here today. So, Hare Krishna. First of all, would like to seek the blessings of all the assembled devotees here, who please bless me so that I can speak few words for the pleasure of the devotees and the glories of the Lord. So, Pancha Kalpatarubhyasya Kripa Sindhu Bhevacha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namah. So here, if you we all know that the background that Dhruva Maharaj is in the fight with the Yakshas, and Yakshas showing their mystic power here. All these things happening, so many things coming from the sky, stool, mucus coming, storm is coming, rainfall is coming, the bodies are coming, all this happening in front of Dhruva Maharaj. Dhruva Maharaj seeing the mystic power of Yaksha. So today we'll try to discuss a few points. What is that mystic power? In the material world today, in today's world, people are trying to show and how relevant for us as a practicing devotees, and also what is the cause for this mystic power, or why do they desire to have this mystic power, and how we devotees can try to understand from that. Yeah. So in the Srimad Bhagavatam, second canto, third chapter, 22nd purport, Srila Prabhupada writes that inhabitants of the higher planets are empowered with the eightfold achievement of mystic perfection. They do not have to learn, practice mystic processes of yoga, perfection, and achieve the power of becoming a small like a particle, anima siddhi. So Prabhupada is saying that in the higher planets, they don't have to practice. That's come along with their, they are already imbibed, they're already input in their mind, body itself, that all the mystic powers are there. But for us, in this material world, in this Buloka, we have to, practice it. We have to do so many years of austerity to get that mystic power. So the Prabhupada talks about the 8 mystic yogas, the anima siddhi, the becoming small like a small particle, or higher than a soft, lighter than a soft, lagima siddhi, anima siddhi, lagima siddhi, thus becoming small, becoming a lighter. And further, Srila Prabhupada says they do not have to get anything and everything from anywhere and everywhere. That siddhi is prapti siddhi, and to become heavier than the heaviest, mahima siddhi, to act freely, even to create something wonderful or annihilate anything that at will is isitva siddhi, and control the material elements, vasitva siddhi, and possess such power as will never frustrate in any desire, prak, prakmya, prakamya siddhi, and to assume any shape from or form of anyone whimsically desire, kamavasya siddhi. So these are the 8 siddhis, the people of higher planet already imbibed. So here Dhruva Maharaj facing the such yakshas who are already with all these siddhis. Now these 8 siddhis, how relevant for us? Are we kind of get attracted to such siddhis? I mean, in this material world, we see today some people having some of this mystic powers. So how we as a practicing devotees should consider that. So Srila Prabhupada in 8th chapter, 18th chapter, 65 verse, Prabhupada says that for a practicing devotee is manmana bhavat takta madhyaji namaskuru. That is the greatest siddhi. Where is the question of mysticism? There is no question of mysticism. God says, just always think of me, offer your obeisance and worship me. That's all. Where is the need of mysticism? What is the jugglery? For devotees, this mystic powers worthless because we just think about Krishna, pay obeisance to Krishna, and always serve Krishna. So that is the greatest siddhi, the greatest power. So Prabhupada says the yogis or the so-called swamis who have this power, they are not God, because in the society, many times we see that they are worshipped, they are respected, they are considered like God, and many times they claim themselves to be God. So here Prabhupada says, they are not God. Prabhupada says in the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, second verse, 34th verse, Prabhupada says in the lecture, he says that after mystic power, a yogi also wants to show magic. I shall make like this, and a gold will be there. Power, people will worship me as I am God. We know the society, some people are creating ash from the sky, ash from the nowhere, or they're creating gold. That's why Prabhupada says, if you play something wonderful, they will accept you. Oh, you are God. But he does not know that he cannot become God. So this point Prabhupada says that we are, as practicing devotee, should not be get attracted to such mystic powers of so-called yogis or so-called the swamis. So who is that mystic power, mystic, the greatest mystic? For us, Supreme Lord Krishna is the greatest mystic, in mystic power holder. In the morning walk, Srila Prabhupada says that we must see the inconceivable mystic power, just like Krishna as a child lifted hill, Govardhana hill. Prabhupada talking about how a small child of 5, 6 years old can lift Govardhan, such a huge mountain, in his left hand, small finger. So that is the real mystic power. That is the real, the mysticism what Krishna has shown. Other day somebody was mentioning that if so-called swamis in the say that they can create a small piece of gold, ask them to create the gold mines. If they can do that, whereas Krishna has created the gold mine, Krishna has created everything which is these people cannot create. Even Prabhupada says that if they have such mystic power, why they're suffering? Why they're dying? Why can't they stop themselves? Which they cannot do it. And they claim themselves to be God. So Prabhupada says that Ramchandra, he constructed a bridge to of stones without pillars. These stones began to float. That is the inconceivable power, because you cannot adjust inconceivable power when they are described. You say, oh, all these are stories and mythology. So this is another point Prabhupada makes here, that many time in the society today, they say this is a Hindu mythology. Ramayana Hindu mythology, Mahabharata Hindu mythology. What is mythology means? Myth means myth. Myth means it is not true. It's some build up stories. So this is how our modern education system is educating it our mind. Our children, our future generation, is this is what they're giving it. So that's why Prabhupada, this is not mythology. This is a fact. Even today, there is evidence. So Prabhupada is saying that, further Prabhupada says that there was a forest fire. All the friends, cowherd boys, they became disturbed. They began to look towards Krishna. Oh, what to do? All right. He simply swallowed up all the fire. This is the inconceivable mystic power. So, like this, Prabhupada gives so many examples how Krishna is greatest mystic power holder. He is the greatest personality who empowered the souls with the some little mystic powers. So those the yogis or swamis, the so-called swamis, they claim they have mystic power. This also come from Krishna. Krishna has empowered them. Krishna has given them small thing because of their austerity. So we as a practicing devotees need not bother. In further, Srila Prabhupada in the Bhagavad Gita purport 2.7, Prabhupada says that is a proof of Krishna conscious man. No one has lost all inclination for material sense gratification, although desire present, because he remains satisfied in the transcendental loving service of the Lord. He can remain steady. Like ocean, there are enjoy full peace. Others, however, want to fulfill the desire. So why this so-called mystic power holders, they show themselves because they want to enjoy this. They will have so many desires. So the desire is the root cause. Their desire to enjoy the material world, enjoy the senses, that is the root cause. They are acquiring so many mystic powers so that they can show, they can cheat the people. The innocent people follow them and they claim themselves to God, and people start worshiping them. People start offering them all the money and other things so that they can enjoy. So this is what happening today. We see in the society those called mystic power. So the yakshas are also here. They had so many powers. So we as a practicing devotees need not be bothered about it. Further, Srila Prabhupada in lecture on Srimad Bhagavatam, third canto, 25th verse, Srila Prabhupada, and 25th chapter, second verse, Srila Prabhupada says, if some yogi shows some mystic power and he can manufacture little gold, we accept him as God. But we forget that real yogi who creates millions of gold mines floating on the air, in the air. So we Krishna conscious persons, we are not so foolish that we shall accept any kind of yogi as Bhagavan. So this is the conclusion. Srila Prabhupada says we need not be bothered about this mystic powers of so-called yogis in our material world today. Especially in India, Prabhupada said that India is a factory of gods. Every day, someone will come and claim himself, "I'm the God. I'm the incarnation of so and so. I'm so and so." So that's why Srila Prabhupada is saying we should not be bothered. We have only one mystic power. We have only personality, Sri Krishna, with whom we serve, we surrender to him, and he is the supreme personality Godhead. So, as we mentioned, why this mystic powers people try to acquire? I mean, even the smallest knowledge or smallest skills. You could be a great actor. There are some Tamil actors. They do so many magics. You know, Actually, Srila Prabhupada said when somebody came showed his magic. Prabhupada said that, see the greatest magic I have created. I have made the American boys and girls to surrender to Krishna, and I brought them here. The white elephants, I brought them here. So that is the greatest magic, which none of you, the magicians, can do it. So that is the power of Krishna consciousness. That is the power of pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. Now, in the material world, people do this because of their desire to enjoy. So we'll talk about a few points about the desire. And what I have done is that the word desire, Desire, I tried to kind of expand it. D, D stands for deserve. E stands for eagerness. S stands for service. I stands for intelligence. R stands for renounce. Again, E stands for envy, free from envy. So if we want to conquer our desire to enjoy the material world, we need to expand these words. Then we'll discuss few more points here. So, what is a desire? Srila Rupa Goswami in Nectar of Devotion says, Anyabilashita Shunya, Jnana Karmadi Anavritam, Anukulena Krishna Anushilanam Bhaktiruttamam. He says, one should render transcendental loving service to the Supreme Lord Krishna favorably without a desire for material profit or gain through fruitive activities or philosophical speculation. That is called pure service. So the desire should not be for material, should not be for enjoying my senses. The desire should be to serve Krishna. That should be anukulyana as well as is anushilanam. It should be as wanted by Krishna and favorable to Krishna. And the word anyabilashita, tha means the root of the desire. So that root of the desire from the heart should be removed. That is a real pure bhakti. When the root, the desire to enjoy is being removed from our heart, all our activities will be perfect. So as discussed, the first step to remove the desire, we should be deserve. When we deserve, the desire slowly can be directed to the right direction. Srila Prabhupada in lecture first canto 8 chapter 41st verse says, Krishna is giving me the opportunity to enjoy that material facility. Whatever I want, whatever I desire, of course, I must deserve first. Then I should desire. So the word deserve comes first, because many times we go and we aspire so many things without even deserving it. So I should know what is my qualification, what is my qualities, what is my eligibility to desire something. Even in the corporate world, we ask something, we ask for promotion or ask for increment. They ask for what is your qualification, what is your, are you deserve it, what is your right. But whereas in spiritual world also, what is my deserve, am I deserving it, did I do anything, did I do any service which I can desire to get that what I want. So that's what Srila Prabhupada says. Srila Prabhupada says bhakti means detachment, vairagya, vidya vinaya bhakti yoga. Bhakti yoga means detachment. Our suffering is due to our attachment. Because we are materially attached, I am desiring so many things. Therefore, Krishna is giving an opportunity to enjoy that material facility. Actually, many times people say that why Krishna doing like this, why Krishna doing like this. Actually, Krishna is not doing anything. Krishna is just fulfilling our desire, and whatever we desire, that's why we are responsible for our activities. Many times we say that no, why good thing happens to bad people, or no, other way around, why bad thing happens to good people. So we many times see that people are saying I have not done anything, I know why I'm suffering. Or sometimes we see that a child is suffering because that child is not that child we're seeing today. That child is a soul which has done so many karmas. So whatever I do today, I'm the responsible for it. I should enjoy or suffer based on my activities. Krishna just fulfilling my desire. So my desires has to be directed such a way that so that I'm not getting entangled into the material world. So that's why Prabhupada says, of course, I must deserve. First deserve, then desire. Suppose I want to become a king, I must have pious activities behind me so that I can become king. So without having qualities, without having qualification, I should not desire. So the first and foremost is deserve. So we as a practicing devotees, we should start working on what is my deserve. So what I should do, what activities I should do. If Krishna has to be pleased, if I am aspiring to, am I desiring to love of Krishna, what should I do? How should I serve Krishna? How should I serve Krishna's devotees? That is what my deserve. So Krishna, whatever we do, Krishna says swalpa. even little service to Krishna, Krishna will never forget. Krishna will completely give that credit for it. So we need to do that, activities which he can. So His Holiness Radhanath Swami Maharaj says that when you go to see Lord, we should not go to see the Lord. We should go such a way the Lord sees us. So that is the deserve. When we have that qualities, Krishna will see us. So that is the first step we need to, imbibe in our life. Srila Prabhupada in his lecture on third canto, 28th verse, 21st, 28th chapter, 21st verse, Srila Prabhupada says, first of all, become fit. First of all, you deserve, then desire. Why you foolishly desiring something for which you do not deserve? That's your fault. So many times we desire, Krishna fulfills, and we suffer. So without even knowing what is our desire, what am I deserving it? So that is another fault. Srila Prabhupada says that. And Prabhupada says nobody is prepared to practice samo dharma titikshva, but he wants to respect a brahmana. That is that is the cause of India's culture being failure at the present moment. First deserve, then desire. So without deserving, they are desired. In the lecture, fifth canto, fifth verse, 23rd verse in Vrindavana, Srila Prabhupada says that. So the lesson for us is that we should develop the qualities, develop activities, start the activities such a way that I deserve something so that I can desire. So that is the first point. Then comes the eagerness. When I have deserve, I should have that eagerness to do that service, do that activities. So in Nectar of Devotion, the Rupa Goswami says, Utsaha nischaya dhairya tat karma pravartanat sangatyaga sato vrate shadbid bhakta prasiddhyate. One can execute the process of bhakti yoga successfully with full hearted enthusiasm, perseverance, and determination by following the prescribed duties in association of devotees and by engaging completely in activities of God goodness. So this is the eagerness, this is the our determination should be there, with determination to execute the process of bhakti yoga in full of enthusiasm, the full of perseverance and determination, and within the association of devotees and following the prescribed duties. So we should do our duty in the association of devotees by in the guidance of senior devotees, and we should practice Krishna consciousness full of enthusiasm, because Krishna consciousness is not a dull activity. Krishna consciousness is not something for lazy people. Krishna consciousness is something for very alert and active people. So that's why we should be eager to do service. We should take up our activities such a way that we serve Krishna with the full of enthusiasm. So what deserve, then desire, the eagerness, then comes service. With the eagerness we do service, because you know that's why Srila Prabhupada, when he defined bhakti, he says devotional service. He doesn't just say devotion. It's a devotional service. So without service there is no bhakti. So our activity starts from the service. So even we all know that when we chanting the holy name Hare Krishna Mahamantra, we are requesting Srimati Radharani, please engage me in service of Krishna. So we are aspiring to service. So we should do that service. So Srila Prabhupada in third canto, 27th verse, 27th chapter, 10th verse, Srila Prabhupada says, the real service of the Lord begins when the senses are purified. One does not have to stop activities of senses, but false ego of identifying with the body has to be removed. When the service will start, when my false ego is removed, when the false ego identifying with my body is removed, and my senses are purified. So senses will be purified only when my senses are engaged in the service of Krishna. Like example of Ambarish Maharaj, how the senses can be, all the senses can be engaged in the service of Krishna. So we should practice, we should create a situation such that every day we have a service to Krishna. Every day we have some or other activities so that we are always engaged in his services. Our eyes are always to see Krishna, our ears to hear the glories of the Lord, Our tongue is to, taste the remnants of bhoga offered to Krishna Prasad. So with that, our senses can be purified. When we take that Krishna Prasad, when we hear that holy name of Krishna, when we see that glorious, beautiful form of Krishna, our senses are purified, our mind is purified. Then we'll be able to next level do the service nicely. So Srila Prabhupada in Ishopanishad, Prabhupada says, real service to humanity is to rendered when one teaches the surrender to the worship of surrender and worship the Supreme Lord with full love and energy. So this is another point we need to understand, that what is a real service? We are real service, Prabhupada says, to teach others. We have to surrender, definitely, and we teach others to surrender to Krishna. So preaching is the real service to Krishna. So we should preach, we should propagate the holy name, the propagate the Krishna consciousness to as many devotees, as many people as possible. So that should be done with the full love and energy, full eagerness, full enthusiasm, and full love. So that is the preaching. In one of the lecture, His Holiness Bhakti Charsa Maharaj says that the difference between love and lust. We should be very, very careful. Many times in preaching also, that lust to get the name, fame, the making my own teams or whatever, that's the lust. The real love is 100% dedicated to Krishna and pleasing to Krishna's, service and pleasing Krishna's senses. That is the real love. And anything pleasing to my ego, my senses is a lust. So we should be very careful on that. So like, uh, Brahma Samhita says, Premanjana Churita Bhakti Vilochanena. We should have the eyes to see the Lord with that Premanjana Churita, with that love we can serve the Supreme Lord. And when we develop that love, we can serve Him. And that service is the real service, Srila Prabhupada says. And next comes when we start doing the service, then we should use our intelligence. Srila Prabhupada says, utility is the principle. Whatever we Krishna has given has to be utilized for Krishna consciousness. Our intelligence should be used. Preaching, we have to use all intelligence. Many sometime we'll have to do so many things to adjust so that people can, take up Krishna consciousness. So in Srimad Bhagavatam, 4th canto, 7th chapter, 5th verse, purport, Srila Prabhupada says, the brain substance is only an instrument which has nothing to do with the real intelligence. The real intelligence, the mind, consciousness are part of a particular individual soul. So our real intelligence is mind and consciousness is part of the soul. It has to be utilized for right purpose. In the another purport, 4th canto, 8th chapter, 41st verse, Srila Prabhupada says, even for religiosity, economic development, sense gratification, or liberation, one should approach the Supreme Personality Godhead, offer prayers, ask for fulfillment of one's desire at the lotus feet of Lord. That is a real intelligence. So, in one of the lecture, when Prabhu was mentioning that, agar मांगना है तो अपना बाप से मांगो और किसी से क्यों मांगने का है. So if you want ask, even if you want ask Krishna. Don't ask anyone else. So that is the real intelligence. Prabhupada says that even for economic development, even if you're looking for liberation, even if you're looking for sense gratification, ask Krishna. Of course, for devotees, none of this, required. Devotee doesn't aspire, like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, I don't want any followers. I don't want beautiful wife. I don't want any wealth. I want life after life, your services. So that is the kind of a mood in which devotee should aspire. But even if you have such a desire, ask Krishna, because he knows what is better for me. He knows what is good for me, and he will give what is really good for me. So we should have that intelligence, at least that fundamental, the basic intelligence that I should ask from Krishna. So Prabhupada says in 4th canto, 29th verse, 5th, 29th chapter, 5th verse, purport Srila Prabhupada says, real intelligence means linking with the Supreme Personality Godhead. When this is done, the Supreme Personality Godhead from within gives one the real intelligence by which one can return home back to Godhead. So we are all aspiring to go back to Krishna. So Prabhupada says, what is the real intelligence? That we should link with the Krishna. We should one with the Krishna's objective. We should serve Krishna such a way that Krishna is pleased. And when that is done, he gives within us the real intelligence so that we can serve him nicely, we can go back to Krishna. So we should aspire such a way that we always serve him such that he is pleased. So we discussed about deserve, eagerness, service, and intelligence. Now we should renounce certain things. We should give up certain things. We should give up our sense gratifications, give up our enjoyment to our senses. So Srila Prabhupada in Bhagavad Gita 13th chapter 8th verse and 8 to 12 verse, Srila Prabhupada says that self-control means one should not accept anything which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. One should become accustomed to this and reject anything which is against the path of spiritual progress. This is the real renunciation. So we should renounce, but we should plan such a way that we should not accept anything detrimental path of spiritual progress. Many times we practice in devotees, we get into entangled. We I myself also in that same mood. So we get into this material, the corporate, the things, and we are not able to come out of it because one after one, it keeps coming. So that's why Srila Prabhupada says we should be very, very careful what to accept, what to not to accept. One should become accustomed to this and reject which is against the path of spiritual progress. So we should be able to identify that which is coming in my path, which is which is detrimental to the path of spiritual progress. I should be able to reject it so that I'm not I'm not entangled into the material activities. I'm not entangled to my sense gratifications. So that is the real the renunciation. So in Chaitanya Charitamrita also mentioned that Sarvopadi Nirmuktam Tad Pravartane Nirmalam Rishikena Rishikesha Sevanam Bhakti Ruchate, or Bhakti Rasamra Sindhu also. Bhakti or devotional service means engaging of all senses in the service of the Supreme Lord, Supreme Personality Godhead, the master of all senses. When a spirit soul renders a service unto the Supreme, there are two side effects. One is freed from material designations, and one's senses are purified simply by being employed in the service of the Lord. So the two things happens when we start serving. You know, our upadhis, our designations should be removed. Many times, this is a real the problem for in our life. We have so many upadhis, so many the positions, and we are attached to our positions. I'm the owner of this, I'm the controller of this, I'm so and so, whatever it is. All these are material upadhis. I mean, Srila Prabhupada talks about even doing, I'm Indian, we are fighting for India, or we are fighting for this, I'm American, I'm this. So these are all upadhis, content, connected to my body. So we should be able to get out of this upadhis, and our senses should be purified. So this will happen only when we start serving Rishikesha, the controller of our senses. Rishikesha is to be served. When that happens, our upadhis will be able to, we are able to come out of upadhis. Of course, sometimes we find it difficult. That's why we have counseling systems, we have bhakti Vishwa systems, we have senior Vaishnavas who are there to regularly, our spiritual masters who are there to regularly guide us so that they can identify what is fault with me so that I can progress in. So our intelligence should be that I should go and ask this question to right person, right time. That is a real intelligence. And that is how I should be able to renounce this, my upadhis, and then I can progress in that. So we discussed about deserve, eagerness, intelligence, service, renounce, and the last but not the least is envy, the free from envy. Because all this anarthas, kama, krodha, mada, matsara. So matsara, the envy, is the greatest enemy, the greatest the problem in our life. In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, first chapter, second verse, Srila Prabhupada says that the transcendental devotees of the Lord are not only free from the material envy, but are well-wishers to everyone, and they strive to establish competition-less society with the God in the center. So we should try to establish a competition-less society. Even within the devotees, this competition, Prabhupada said that yes, we should compete to serve Krishna nicely. If somebody else serves nicely, I should be happy. Yes, he's done so much wonderful service. How I can do also some service like that, than becoming envy or becoming jealous of that. So we should establish, Srila Prabhupada says, should establish a center, a God in the center, and that should be competition-less, without envy or free from jealous. That is a quality we should develop. In Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, 18th chapter, 22nd verse, Srila Prabhupada says, real non-violence means freedom from envy. We speak about non-violence, not harming people, not killing animals. But Srila Prabhupada says we have to go one step ahead. Non-violence is not just harming other. Even envy is violence. Freedom from envy is the real non-violence. We should develop that qualities. Further, Srila Prabhupada in the third canto, 27th verse, 27th chapter, 6th verse, Srila Prabhupada says, in the beginning of Srimad Bhagavatam, it is clearly stated that Paramo Nirmasaranam. This treatise of Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those who are completely free from envy. So Nirmasarana Satham, Srimad Bhagavatam is meant for those devotees who are free from envy. We should, when we develop that qualities of freedom from envy, we are able to progress further. In another purpose, Prabhupada says, one who is not free from the contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. This is the conclusion part. When we want to progress in Krishna consciousness, we have to be free from envy. That's why Prabhupada says that one who is not free from contamination of envy cannot advance in Krishna consciousness. If I think that so many years in Krishna consciousness, so many years, last 15 years, 20 years in a Krishna consciousness, but nothing happens, no progress happen, it is mainly because of envy. So in third canto, Kapiladev says that the symptom of sadhu, or who is tolerant, merciful, and friendly for all living entities. He has no enemies. He is peaceful. He abides the scriptures and all the character by sublime. So we need to develop that as quality of sadhu, who is free from envy, who is merciful to everybody, he is friendly with everybody. And with that mood, we should preach Krishna consciousness. We should propagate the holy name. That is the quality of sadhu. We should develop that. That is what will give us progress in Krishna consciousness. So before we end, just conclusion here is Dhruva Maharaj is seeing the mystic powers of Yakshas. So many things happening in our world also, in our society also. We see so many mystic powers happening. Somebody is very rich, somebody has some power. We see that, So we as a practicing devotees should understand that these mystic powers also given by Krishna, and these are worthless for us because we have the greatest mystic power holder, Krishna. We should understand that. And some of this upper planet, the personalities, they have this mystic power, so we should not get attracted to that. So we should also educate people that they are not God, and they are not practicing devotional service, those mystic powers. So we should help other people not get cheated. Otherwise there will be so many cheaters to get cheated. That's why Prabhupada says Indian system is cheater and cheater, cheater and cheated. So we should do that our service to the society so that people are not get cheated. So Krishna is the greatest mystic power holder. Krishna is that supreme personality, has got all the power. And to those who have this desire to have mystic power, the mainly the desire because they want sense enjoyment, and we as a practicing devotees should desire to serve him nicely so that we can get the ultimate love of Godhead, like what Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, like what Srila Prabhupada said. Our aspiring is to get love of God, and to get that we should deserve first. We should do our activities such that I can get that deserved qualities. Then I should do that in eagerness, and then service with that using intelligence, renounce certain activities which are detrimental to the Krishna consciousness, and with the free from envy. DESIRE. My desire has to be diverted in such a way that I always serve Krishna nicely. With this, I'll stop here. Hare Krishna. If anybody want to add anything, anyone to comment, any questions, please. Thank you.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat
Dhanyavad.
Pranams for the wonderful class and how we directed everything with the, desire, but how that desire should be. I mean, we mentioned the 8 types of siddhis like anima, laikma, prapti, mahima, ishtva, vaštva, prakamya, and kamya vasya siddhi. And you mentioned that like all these uh, so-called mystic yogis in this world, it is mainly for the desires to enjoy their own senses in this material world, and but they might create a small gold piece, but not the gold mines. But who is the actual mystic yogi? Real mystic yogi is the Krishna himself. And he gave another examples like Krishna lifting the Govardhan hill, Krishna swallowing the forest fire when he went to the forest with his friends, and Rama building the stone bridge without pillars. So these are the things, and actual mysticism, and we should get attracted to them, not to the so-called mystic yogis in this material world, but that comes naturally in the other world, but not here. And you mentioned like you nicely linked this desire to enjoy material world is the cause to get the mystic powers, and that will eventually suffers them, like if they are really having the mystic power, why are they dying, or all these kind of things. So ideally we should not get attracted to this, and this desire, like you very nicely mentioned, desire, eagerness, service, intelligence, renounce, and envy. So like each thing you mentioned, like we should desire even before desiring, otherwise we are bound to suffer in this material world, and whatever we are suffering, it is because of our own past karma, not because of Krishna is doing something. Krishna is just fulfilling our desires, but the problem is we desire without deserving those things. And very nicely mentioned about eagerness to do the service with enthusiasm and love. And the service, you, very nicely mentioned that our activity starts from service in the Krishna consciousness. So real devotional service starts when senses are purified or false ego is removed. So, and intelligence you mentioned is the main principle. Even for religion, economic development, liberation, or sense gratification, we should ask Krishna. Then, like we call it as the real intelligence. Like now, Dhruva Maharaj also has done the same. So, and we should our real intelligence also mentioned that we should link our consciousness with Krishna's consciousness or with Krishna's intelligence. And renounce, like you nicely mentioned that we should give up the sense gratification, and we should accept what is favorable to devotional service, and we should reject what is detrimental to devotional service. And envy, like which is like highlight, is that like we should have, we should be free from envy, otherwise it does not matter how many years we are in the, so I've been doing devotional service, but we will not advance in Krishna consciousness. But wonderful thing, like which I surprised was, for every of these things you mentioned, you quoted the verses from Srimad Bhagavatam and Bhagavad Gita, and also from the purports and talks by His Divine Grace Prabhupada. For everything you have nicely quoted. It was really wonderful. Thanks a lot, Prabhuji, for like nicely explaining and how to dovetail our desire with the Krishna consciousness. Please.
Thank you,
Thanks
Prabhu.
a lot once
Thank you
again,
for
Prabhuji.
wonderful summary,
I
Prabhu.
admit I unmuted the line, so devotees can ask any questions or any comments here. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.